New report out today by the Australian Automobile Association. That's the umbrella group for all of the state automobile groups like the RAC here in WA. This report, which they put out each year, is called the Australian Road Assessment Program. Gives very low ratings to some very important pieces of highway in Western Australia. In fact, what it says is around about a quarter of WA's highways are substandard, unsafe and needing upgrading. Gives particularly bad ratings to significant sections of Great Eastern Highway and Great Northern Highway, and in particular that one really bad area of Great Northern Highway between Mewshay and Woburn, which last year was identified in articles by the West Australian as the most terrifying in Western Australia because there's a major accident there every 25 days. While the automobile associations, of course, they're mainly for car drivers, a lot of the people who use those big sections, particularly the Great Northern Highway, are truckies. Paul Aslan is the Acting Secretary of the Transport Workers Union of WA. He joins us now. G'day, Paul.
Morning, Paul, and thanks for highlighting the issue. It's a big one for our members.
Yeah, what are they telling you about? Let's focus on that bit of Great Northern Highway because your guys are on there every day.
Well, we've surveyed the road networks several times over the last 10 years, and that section always comes up as the biggest black spot. It's by far the biggest number of complaints come about that road, and they're still coming about that road. It's an absolute disgrace. I spoke to a driver this morning, only minutes ago. He rang me, and he described it as treacherous, dangerous, and an absolute death trap in waiting, and that's exactly what it is. And Paul, the problem is no money's being spent on WA roads. I mean, we've had the biggest boom in our history, and the northwest roads are delivering the boom, and yet there's nothing being spent on them. We've got 82,000 people a year coming into the state, and it's given us nothing.
We seem to have been talking about that bit of road, that stretch of Great Northern Highway, forever. I mean, it is clearly a black spot. Why can't there be money spent on it?
Well, we've managed to elicit a promise from the Deputy Prime Minister, Albo, who was then the Transport Minister, in the budget this year, and they've agreed that they've promised to put in $300 million to fix that road up. Now, that'll be contingent upon, what happens in a month or so's time when we have the election. Hopefully they're in power and they can keep their promises. But 25% of road funding for these roads comes from the state government, 75% from the feds. So we urgently need the money. We've got a cash crisis in this country. I mean, we're running debts all over the place, state and federal. So it's harder and harder to get the money, but we certainly need it for those roads.
The RAC says in the West this morning that we've got 22% of the national highway network. We only get 10% of the federal funds.
Well, there's been no funding on roads outside Perth. I mean, it's bad enough. Don't start me on traffic congestion, but it's bad enough. The roads. There's been no money spent outside Perth. They spent over $1 billion on that the airline gateway project, or they're spending that on that money. The main roads have told us that there'd been no money earmarked for it until recently, when we've been told that this money's been allocated to that money. In the meantime, we've lost a couple of members on some of those roads through accidents. I don't know whether your members know, but official statistics from the government state that if you're a truck driver, you're 16 times more likely to die at work than you are in any other occupation.
Wow.
And that's the truth. They're official federal government statistics from Safe Work Australia.
I was surprised that the east-west highway is so bad. Your trans-state drivers must have a problem there. It says that the Coolgardie to Esperance part of the Great Eastern Highway is specifically bad. In fact, 15% of it is only 1 star and 52% only 2 star. At that rating, it's worse than Great Northern Highway.
Well, there's no money being spent on that road for 30-odd years. There's hardly any money being spent. All we get is Band-Aid stuff, like we've had on the Mewshay to Woburn road, where they come along and patch it up, then the next truck comes through and rips the bitumen out, and it's just back to normal. It's just shocking. And the Coolgardie Norseman Highway, there's just no money going into it. So obviously it's going to run down, and that's what's happening. We need more money into the roads. We need more money for hospitals and a whole lot of things. I mean, what our members say, why are they building Elizabeth Quay? Why are they building the footy stadium? I mean, 95% of people watch the football on TV like me. But, that's the response that truckies give us.
All right, mate. Good to talk to you, Paul. Thanks.
No worries, Paul.
Paul Aslan, Acting Secretary of the Transport Workers Union of WA. Looks to me like this is a very good issue for the federal election campaign. Little Bird told me earlier this morning that Prime Minister Kevin Rudd's going to pop up in Western Australia tomorrow. I think he's probably here to sell education. We have once more put in a request. I've been telling you that we've been putting in requests to get to interview him. We've put in a request again tomorrow to have him in the studio here for half an hour to be interviewed and to be up for your questions. We'll see how we go. That's one question I'd like to ask him. There are many others, of course. 9221 882 is the number. It's 3 to 9.